In this video, we're going to look at the end behavior of polynomials. There's four possible ways that the end behavior of a polynomial could look. And it depends on two things. It depends on the degree, whether it's odd or even, and it depends on the sign of the leading coefficient, whether it's positive or negative. So we're going to start by looking at polynomials that have an odd degree. So in other words, the largest exponent is an odd number, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Those are odd numbers. So for an odd degree, what that means is that my two arrows on the ends are going to be pointed in the opposite direction. If I have a positive leading coefficient, that means that the graph is going to be rising as you look from left to right, kind of like with the positive slope. The graph is going to be rising from left to right. So I'm going to have a downward arrow on the left side. This dotted area means that there might be some funny stuff in the middle, but we're not concerned about what's in the middle of the graph. We're concerned about the direction that the arrows are pointing. Then I'm going to have an upward pointing arrow on the right side. If I have an odd degree and a negative leading coefficient, that's like having a negative slope, and the graph is going to be overall pointed downward. So my arrow is going to be pointing up on the left side. Then there's going to be some stuff in between, and then pointing downward on the right side. So again, what we want to focus on with end behavior is the direction that the arrows are pointing. So that's for an odd degree. Now we're going to look at even degree situations. So even degree, the arrows are going to be pointing in the same direction. Odd degree, they're pointing in opposite directions. Even degree, they're pointing in the same direction. Even numbers would be exponents 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. for the largest exponent. So even degree and positive leading coefficient is going to look something like this. Upward arrow on the left. Any kind of stuff in the middle that you want, just depends on the numbers and the exponents involved, and then an upward arrow on the right. So both sides are pointing upward. If it's an even degree and a negative leading coefficient, that means that both arrows are going to be pointing downward. I have a downward arrow on the left, whatever kind of stuff in here, and then a downward arrow on the right. So both sides are pointing downward. So we're going to look at example 3. It says to use the leading coefficient test to determine the end behavior of the graph. Basically, the leading coefficient test is just identifying the degree, whether it's even or odd, identifying the leading coefficient, and then using that information to choose one of the four styles of graphs. So determine the end behavior of the graph of f of x equals x to the third plus 3x squared minus x minus 3. So most of the terms in here don't even really matter. What I want to look for first is the degree. For this polynomial, the degree is 3. That's the largest exponent. 3 is an odd number. So that tells me that I'm going to have either one positive and one negative going upwards, or one positive side and one negative side going downwards. Now I want to identify the leading coefficient. So find where the exponent is 3. That's that x to the third term right here. The number in front here is a positive 1. So it is positive. So now degree is odd, leading coefficient is positive. That means the graph is going to look something like this, where it's pointing downward on the left side, pointing upward on the right side. Now what this is going to look like in the homework is it's going to be multiple choice. So they're going to give you a polynomial here, and then you're going to choose which one is the correct graph based on the end behavior. So for example, for this one, I have negative x to the 8 plus x to the 6. So 8 is my degree. That means that it's going to be either both pointing upward or both pointing downward. And then my leading coefficient here is -1. It's negative, so that means that it's going to be pointing downward. So my correct answer choice would be B. If you click on the magnifying glass, it'll show you more of a close-up image of the graph if you are having trouble seeing it. Sometimes they're a little bit small on the screen, so that can be helpful. So check my answer, and that is correct. So what you should do next is checkpoint problem number 3. Do this in your notes, check your answer with the notes that are posted, and then you can move on to the homework for this part of this section.